Hey y'all, grown black folks talk back out on the climb. Minus hiking poles, left them at the board meeting yesterday, but decided to come out and take a short walk anyway. I wanted to take this time to introduce a new playlist, sub-playlist. It'll be part of the bigger grown black folks talk playlist. But let's block and change the lock Chronicles. I've been thinking about this for a while. Most of you don't get to experience the humorous side of me that much. It doesn't happen that often. And I want to be able to lighten up some of the grim conversation. But as I said this morning, I really want to be careful to bring you content that's going to be helpful, because whether you believe it or not, some of the opportunities we are seeing in 2024, some of us will never see again. So I want to be careful what I bring to you. And I want to bring things that will help you and help you shed dead weight from your life. And this is not... I do this in the context of this morning's video about loving black women and even some black men unselfishly. And of course, I would extend that to anyone else in the world. Another preliminary comment. I have an international audience. So on YouTube and on Hive and on Facebook. So some of the people that I'm going to talk about in the coming weeks and months and however long this new sub-playlist goes, I will allow you to put in your experiences and assume. I'm not going to mention color, creed, or gender unless it actually matters, it's germane to how this person got exited from my life. Sometimes it is germane in the details. But you will, of course, be free to fill in who you think and what color and all the rest of this, bound by your own experiences. But as you're doing that, I ask of you this one thing. Sometimes if there's someone that the story I'm telling reminds you of, maybe that's a hint that it's time to let that person go. Now, why bless, block, and change the lock? Well, let's start with bless. This morning I talked about being able to love unselfishly. If you have too many people taking up your energy, you're always going to be in a desperate position. And when you're desperate, you do desperate things, like trying to hang on to people too long. You have to be able to be, in order to love the freedom in other people, to allow other people that, you have to be in a pretty stable position, because we're always going to be human. And the reason that I can let people come and go is because I'm stable enough to do that. And to be able to do that without being overwhelmed by the emotions of what's going to happen to me if I remove this person from my life? What happens to me if this person's life just changes and they're not as available? I'm a human being. The whole what's going to happen to me reaction is part of being human. Part of being human is wanting also, and is encouraged in this culture, to play God over other people, as if you have the right to save, control, and damn someone else. A lot of our national discourse is really the different factions of American life trying to find people they can control or damn. I'll give you an example. This is something Confidence with Love talks a lot about and people are uncomfortable about. But a lot of the discourse we have about people who are lesbian, gay, transgender, LGBTQ, and queer does not have anything to do with a principled stance on sexuality, because most of the people who talk the smack about it are people who are also fornicating, just heterosexually. It has to do with this need we have to be able to other someone else, to use them as chattel, and make an excuse to withhold resources of all kinds and destroy them when possible. That's what that has to do with. That's the same motivation for racism. Everything is scarce. Everything is desperate. We're gonna pick a group of people we can be superior to, and we're gonna pick a group of people that we can deny things so we can feel like little gods, and we can destroy and work out our frustration because we can't actually be God and have our own way. That's part of being human. I used two really big examples there to also illustrate the kind of people that I'm having leave my life, but also why I'm not going to give all these details about color, creed, gender, sexual orientation either when I talk about people that I blocked, unless it is germane, unless they made it germane. Because we're not going to do this. We're not going to model that bad behavior. And I'm not having people around me that model that bad behavior. Here's another way that people got removed, even though there's hard blocks and soft blocks. I went through a time period also, because I was raised well by beautiful two beautiful black parents, wonderful black uncles. That, yes, the culture that I live in of black men that is informed by predators and felons, 1/3 of felons, and informed by people who have made our musical culture degrading to the extreme toward black women and black children and themselves. Comedy and music. I had to know that Father Matthews, my father, is a rarity now, unfortunately. And he probably always was, in a culture where men have been broken and degraded to the extent that the United States has done to men of African descent in America, consistently. I had to learn that. And I also had to come to learn that black women are participating in the degradation and the brokenness also. I didn't know that either, because Mother Matthews, Grandma Phillips, and all the people around them, all the women around them who mentored me, there was no way for me to know that. There is a time period in which we have to learn things about the world we really live in. But if you're sitting there wallowing in it, let me tell you something. 15 million black men are not going to do anything for you. They don't owe you that. They're not your chattel. And gentlemen, 18 million black women don't owe you anything. We're not your chattel. That's not going to budge. If that's your main discourse and that's your main interest, nope, didn't make it into 2024. You just were soft blocked. You didn't know it. Not interested in that conversation, because it should be established now. I'm not God. I'm not a plantation owner. So, no, not going to do that either. That's another set of conversations. I have not blocked anyone because they were or were not a particular ethnic group at a particular time, a particular phenotype. Nope, didn't do it. But I'm not interested in having those conversations either, again and again and again and again. At least over here it's established. Now, if I met a young woman who was, still kind of confused about this, yeah, I got resources to go and point her to. And if a young man was interested, I got resources to point. But at 43, you do reductive conversations, you're not going to be over here. And in my personal life, I'm even more brutal. And that's where a lot of my stories will come from. Okay, that is a big truck. It's after 3 o'clock and school's back in session. It is winter, and the car engines and all kind of other things are just out here just straining against. My word. Anyway, since we're closer to the mic, let me just come up here a little bit more. A lot of the stories I'm going to tell are going to come from my personal experiences, and I'm going to remove the identifying, like I said, color, creed, gender, sexual orientation. Only if it's germane. Is it germane? But what I'm also going to do is, like I said, you'll recognize people like this. But again, why bless, block, and change the law? Because here's the thing. You don't have to hate someone to leave them. You don't have to hate someone to put them out of your life. Most often, I have made my decisions not in anger but in pain. Now sometimes, because my first story is just going to be a story where I was just absolutely disgusted. But most of the times, not in anger but in pain. And still caring about these people, but just recognizing my time to do anything about that is over. And the person who has a community to whom I owe this understanding at ages 41 and 42, I shall forever be indebted to Themis, of Themis and Thoth, and the whole house of Themis, with all of its varied personalities, in whom I met so many people that I love, and some I'm still in fellowship with, and a number of you who are on the channel are from there. So great, goodly numbers of you. Just because you leave a situation doesn't mean you hate the person there. Just because you leave a situation doesn't mean you don't wish them well. But sometimes you just have to know it's time to leave, and to continue to bless them, because I always will give honor where honor is due. I got a view of the community I live in, both large and small, from my time there, and made the decisions I need to make. But see, again, even though I left, I'm not cursing. I don't have to cuss. I don't have to fuss. The other thing about that is never underestimate that your presence is valuable. Something that Confidence with Love has really emphasized, and I do more aunties with her, as you know. Oh, by the way, we're going to be featuring Level Up Single Mom, Kiana Footman, on the 31st. Y'all roll on by. Don't let the month run out without coming to see your Noir aunties. Shout out for Noir aunties and also Level Up Single Mom. Another great member of the House of Themis that I had a chance to get to know because of that. But she has really reinforced for me, whenever a goddess worshiper and a Christian say the same thing, you probably should pay attention. She's like, she and I said on the same day in different places, you know, you need to take your prayer request to Jesus. Stop going to black women that you would not do any, lift a finger to really help in any kind of way. Stop it. So whenever someone who does not worship the Lord like that, who worships other people says that, and a Christian tells you that at the same time, sometimes as black women, what we have to understand because of history, when we block things out, people, you know, when we block people out and things out, they fall. The entire United States of America survived the early 1800s because our foremothers were imported here. The Civil Rights Movement does not have the shape that we take for granted without Septima Clark and Mahalia Jackson. Because Dr. Martin Luther King, who did not even completely write the I Have a Dream speech, was not going to give it. But it was Mahalia Jackson's voice that said, tell them about the dream, Martin. And Septima Clark did a lot of the groundwork. So the world as you think it exists without black women does not. So at any time when we decide to remove our presence from things, they don't do well. Take any content creator in the black sector on YouTube. Remove black women from it and see how long it lasts. So again, when you know the power you have and you're not desperate, you don't have to give people all kind of extra emotional energy. You just don't have to do that. You don't have to get out of pocket. Because here's the other thing, and I'm going to close where I began this conversation this morning. I have decided that I refuse to play this game that is expected. As a black woman, you're expected to be angry, but you have to defend yourself. You have to do everything by yourself. You're expected to always be tired. You're expected to make things work for everybody else. And if you have something to say about it, you're angry. Men will come at you talking about, we want you to be soft and feminine and all the rest, and then do nothing to provide and then call you masculine when you have to make up the gaps that they're leaving. It's a game I refuse to play with anyone. I want to be able to have a sensitive heart, good, bad, and indifferent. I want to be able to feel all my joys and all of my griefs, and to be able to love unselfishly and to be surrounded by people that know how to do this, and everyone else gets blocked out. That is my decision. So that I don't have to come out of myself to block anyone or to leave or to remove myself from their life. I do this because it is my choice. And even in going, I can still bless you from a distance if I choose. But also, if you disgust me with your trifling ways, get hard blocked and then get talked about for content on my channel. Even though, again, and some people will have the locks changed. They will never be able to return. Our first candidate is one of those. We'll get to that tomorrow, most likely. Bless, block, and change the lock Chronicles. Been thinking about it for a while. And again, I'm not going to mention things that are not germane in terms of what they look like, who they're with. We're not going to do any of that because it's not necessary. But if you find yourself thinking about people that you know and your experiences, and there's people around you that remind you, I'm doing this Chronicle just because this is going to give you the inspiration and motivation you need, hopefully, to understand that just like I exited these people from my life and are unafraid, yes, 43, so post-wall, a fat black woman can exit these people from my life and move right on. So can you. You don't need permission. I'm just going to provide you an example. All right. Y'all have a good day now. It is a beautiful, silvery blue type of day out here. The wind has been mild. We're kind of approaching what we would call the halcyon of winter in Mediterranean climates, but also San Francisco Bay Area, which is very influenced by the water, maritime. Midwinter sometimes there's a very calm period, and in the Mediterranean it's called the halcyon. And we kind of have that here, and so we're sort of in the halcyon of winter, late January, early February, and I'm enjoying my time outdoors. You'll probably see me outdoors more in the next, let's say, probably in the next week. The weather's going to be reasonable. I got to get my hiking poles back, though, so I can go longer distances, but hey, we'll make it work one way or another. Y'all have a good day now, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.